Fresh takers, what is going on? Listen, we are back with another one. This time we are going to be doing a review for Wolfman. Let's get into it. All right. So, listen, this movie was actually really good. I got to stop and do this real quick before I get into this. Wolfman, round of applause. That this movie was done very well. This was a reboot to the Wolfman from the 1940s, and to be honest, I've never seen that movie. I mean, obviously, the Wolfman, werewolf, like people kind of associate they know that, but I've actually never seen it. So to see this, I was going in with no previous knowledge of what was going to happen or the story or anything like that. So I'm going to give you guys kind of like a brief overview of what the movie, like kind of the plot, and then I'm going to get into what I thought. So basically, it started with them saying that in 1995, and the movie takes place majority, I would say 98% of the movies in takes place in Oregon. So it started with saying that there was a hiker that got lost in the woods in like 1995. So it starts in 1995. It says he got lost in the woods, and they said that people that have that saw him, he basically be looked like a wolf, and it was a disease basically that you got from an animal that turned you kind of into that wolf. And they were saying that the natives of the land, so basically, long time ago, they called it something, um, and they kind of, I can't remember what they called it. I think it was like wolf of man or teeth of wolf or something like that. And so it was basically telling you that this is something that's been going on for a long time. So it starts off 1995, starts with the main character, but he's actually a child and he's with his father living on a farm in Oregon. So him and his dad um, basically go out hunting, and his dad is hunting deer. The little boy kind of struggles with following instructions, and he kind of wanders off, and his dad is telling him, like, he's harping on, like, we are basically inches away from dying. Like, death is easy for us as humans because there's so many things that can harm us. So he was really big on protecting his son and his son following instructions. So it was a dynamic where he really was like harping on safety, and you got to stay with me and I got to protect you. And so it kind of like scared the son a little bit. So the son kind of wanders off, even though he just gave this speech. The son wanders off trying to help hunt the deer, and the little kid sees what appears to be a man, but he couldn't really tell. So his dad finds him, and there's a lot, and his dad just senses something's wrong. So he, basically tells him to go hide. I think it was like kind of like a tree house, but it's used for deer hunting, things like that. So his dad tells him get up there. They get up there. They're kind of hiding, and they don't know what's like trying to approach this tree house. And it was I got to give them credit. This was like 5 minutes into the movie, and they instantly gave you that eerie, suspenseful feeling, and it was done right. Like, I was like, oh, we're not waiting. We're definitely not waiting, and I appreciated that. So keep that in mind for when you guys watch the movie. There's really good foreshadowing in this movie. So um, basically, it fast forwards 30 years later. So the little boy is now grown up. He's the main character. So he's got a daughter named Ginger. He's got a wife. Now, here's the crazy thing about the wife. If you look at him, he doesn't look old, but if you kind of like do the math, it was 1995. He looked like he was like 10, so about 40. it adds up. He doesn't look old, like, I'm not insulting him, but he looks the part. And then when you see the wife, I'm not kidding you guys, because they didn't specify the trailer. I thought those are his daughters. So I thought the blonde hair lady in the trailer and the little girl, I thought they were siblings. I'm not even gonna hold you. I really did. So it kind of threw me off when I saw it, because I was like, she's a baby face. Like, like, she doesn't look like she's 16, but I was like, she look like she kind of like 18, 19-ish, around there or whatever. So didn't know at all that that was his wife. But obviously they introduced them. They are living in the city, so far away from what he was used to growing up in. So um, the reason why I'm giving you all this, because it makes sense. I got to review it, so it makes sense. So um, while they're establishing that the main character and his daughter are really close, because they really harp on that in this movie, that the two of them are really close, and then they introduce the wife. He gets a letter saying basically that they have declared that his dad is deceased, and they give him keys and basically to come and box up everything in his father's farm in Oregon. So he tells his family, and it's kind of like a sad moment, and he's explaining to his daughter that he hasn't seen his dad and talked to him in a long time, because he was so hell bent on protecting him that it scared him and pushed him away from his father. So he was basically saying, as soon as I was old enough, I left. And he said, now that my dad is deceased, I wish I could see him. So um, I'm giving you these parts because you definitely want to pay attention to a lot of these parts. And that's what I like about this movie too, is they were dropping little breadcrumbs at the beginning of the movie, and it gets all, you gotta stick with it. You gotta stick with it, because then it'll all piece together and make sense. So I like that it's not just kind of filler dialogue, like just to kind of move the scene along. Like, this stuff is important. So just remember, what I'm telling you is gonna matter. So make sure you're paying attention in every part of this movie, okay? So that's how we get back to where the movie majority takes place, which is in Oregon. So um, I'm going to kind of stop there, because then if I keep going, I'm going to basically spoil the movie, and this is a spoiler free review. So when it comes to the movie and my thoughts, like I said, I really enjoyed that they gave you pieces to pay attention to in the beginning, because there were definitely full circle moments, excuse me, that happen either in the kind of middle ish of the movie and the end. And I like that they were able to tie those pieces together. So there were little bits and pieces of the story that got tied together and came full circle. And I really like that, because it was, you know, it was like the overall arching storyline, but then you had these bits and pieces and moments that were kind of, added to the story, and it was really good. So I did like I did like the scenery. It was like I said, the majority of the movie was in Oregon. There was a lot of trees, a lot of greenery. It was different look. It was really cool. And where I have to really give this movie a lot of credit is they really did a huge emphasis on practical effects and not special effects. So to me, and I'm not knocking special effects, because special effects are great and they've come a long way, and now if it's done right, it can really look real. So I'm not knocking special effects. What I'm saying is practical effects in some instances come across just even better, if that makes sense. And there's a scene in the movie that really put me in the mind, if you guys are Michael Jackson fans and you watch the full Thriller music video, not just starts at the song, but when they're in the movie and they're showing the little movie scene with Michael Jackson playing a high school character and how he turns into that like wolf slash cat. I still don't know what it is. I would say just I don't know. I don't know what it is. It was looked like a wolf, but also like a cat. We're not gonna get into that. So how they showed where like his whiskers were growing, his hair was growing, his nails and hands and all, like how they showed stuff was growing like that. That they did that in this movie, and it was really cool because it felt more real. It definitely felt more real. Even the scenes that included the Wolfman, um, it even looked like they didn't use special effects a lot in this movie, and to me that added to the, it's technically supposed to be a horror movie, so it added to the eeriness, it added to the um kind of uncomfortable feeling, because I would say the appearances did look kind of just uncomfortable. That's another thing that I liked, is the appearance of Wolfman looked just, it looked different than what I've seen. You know, when people do anything werewolf or wolf, it always looks very put together. Like the teeth look all straight with the fangs, and the hair looks all cool, and everything kind of looks cool. This definitely, if it's a horror movie, and it did its job, and there were definitely moments in the movie that I was kind of like clenching in my seat, like, oh crap, what's about to happen? Like I never jumped, even though it's a horror movie. I never jumped, but it was kind of like I kind of sat back in my seat, like, oh, what's about to happen? And I did like the kind of they tease you. They tease you. It's one of those movies where they give you just enough um of the intense scenes where you're like, all right, get it up, like like y'all messing with, y'all playing with me, and I don't like it. Like, get it over with. I don't know what y'all doing, but like, just like, yeah, you'll see what I mean when you watch it, but it doesn't waste time getting you in that feel of that suspense, kind of like, kind of heart sinking feel. It doesn't waste time there. It is suspenseful. I did have that feeling watching that, like, oh, but they give you just enough. It's like having a sip of amazing juice or alcohol, like whatever your choice of drink is. It's like somebody giving you a sip of, you know, oh my God, it's so good. Like, please give me more. Like, don't keep messing with me. Like, you just keep giving me little sips. Like, give me the cup. And but it's done in a good way. It's definitely done in a good way. It's to keep you not guessing, but to keep you intrigued, because I feel like if they were just to give it to you all at once or give it to you too early, then the rest of the movie you're kind of like, all right. But they don't do that in this movie, so I hope that makes sense. But once you see it, it definitely will. But while you're watching this, I definitely hope that makes sense with how I'm explaining it. There were some really cool aspects of the movie as far as some of the transformation scenes, and what the characters are experiencing, and even tying in relationships, things like that. I thought they did a good job. Now here's where I do knock the movie. It's not a huge knock, but here's where I knock the movie. So they make a huge emphasis on the relationship between the main character and the daughter, which is great. Tugs in my heartstrings, because I'm a, a father to a beautiful little girl. So that's always going to tug in my heartstrings. But I don't really understand, um, or if they were trying to do something, it didn't flesh out. So basically, they kind of established early in the movie that the mom feels like she's failing at being a mom, but then they don't give you a whole lot of time with that, because they kind of keep moving the story along. So they don't give you a whole lot of time with that, but it's okay. Like, it's not a huge knock. It doesn't drag the storyline down, but it didn't make sense to me. I'll be honest with you. It didn't make sense to me because I felt like either don't put it in, because they didn't even really see a struggle of a relationship with the two of them. So that part really didn't make sense to add that in there. You know, you did a good enough job and emphasized enough about the relationship between the main character and his daughter that you really didn't have to kind of throw her under the bus just to, make it even more known that he's a great dad or whatever. It didn't, that part didn't make sense to me. It was either poorly explained and done, or you could have just left it out. Either one. So, um, that would be my knock on the movie. Now, overall, if I had to give this movie a rating, I really enjoyed this movie. Um, I like switching it up. I know you guys, a lot of the viewers I have, you guys are kind of kind of with me on the nerdy side of things with superhero movies and stuff like that. But every now and then it feels good to get to see a horror film. And since I definitely didn't get to see Nosferatu, I'm still trying to see that. It felt good to be able to see a horror film. So if I had to give this a rating, I would give it a solid 8. And definitely give it a solid 8. What I'm knocking it for, doesn't really drag it down, but it is something kind of like, okay, all right, guys. Is it something where it's going to knock me out the park? No, because for it to be a horror film, it did give me some really good moments of suspense, and I felt tense, but it wasn't something where it really jumps out at you and scares the crap out of you. To me, if it's technically supposed to be labeled a horror movie, it needs to do that. So I'm gonna give it a solid 8 out of 10, and I really do encourage you guys to go see this. This was a good one, and please let me know what you guys think about the movie. Come back to the comments, say, hey, I saw it, this is what I thought. I would love your feedback on that, because I definitely think it was a good movie. But for me, a horror movie, like, you gotta, to me, and this is what I'm saying. A Quiet Place, seeing A Quiet Place last year, that, like, whew, that had my booty cheeks clenched. I was like, whew, I was really, it was tense. And I got that kinda in this movie, but not the way I did with A Quiet Place. And Quiet Place was not even really labeled. I don't think that's labeled a horror movie. I'm not sure. To me, it's not a horror movie, but that movie had me really tense. And this movie didn't do that, and that's why I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a really solid movie. I do recommend you guys go see this. So I appreciate you guys as always for watching. I appreciate the love on Den of Thieves too. I've been seeing that the views are going well on that, but you guys are hurt my feelings. You guys are not liking the video. You guys are not subscribing. You guys are not sharing, and it hurts my feelings. And I know you guys don't want to hurt my feelings, but you guys are hurting my feelings. So please, 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 if you watch this, if you like it, please share, please subscribe. I really appreciate it. Once again, I do have a Patreon now that I'm going to start posting on. So if you guys can go to the link in the description, subscribe to my Patreon. It's going to be really some good exclusive content there. So as always, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. You guys be safe, and I will see you guys later. Peace.